So you can see I've already begun carving. You can see all my little shavings everywhere. So what I would do to start off is I would pick a section and kind of go around the outlines of the objects that you're creating, just so you give them like a fence, so to speak. So if you're carving, you don't accidentally like go whoop straight through it. This will kind of help with that. It won't solve it completely, but it will help. Remember, when you carve, you want to always be super safe. So never put your hand in front and carve, because if it hits your finger, that's going to be a problem. You can guide your hand. So you can put, I'm a right-handed person, so I'm holding this in my right hand, but I'm putting my left hand on the gouge, and I am carving. Now you see I slipped a little bit there. That's going to happen, so just be careful. So just really, you have to focus this entire time while you do this. Now what's cool is the bench hook is providing me with pressure. Normally you'd have to hold stuff down if you needed to carve it, but I don't need to do that because this is being pushed right up against this part of the bench hook. The other part is hanging tight on the side of my table, so I don't need to hold it. I can just carve. The only reason I might need to hold it is if it starts to go side to side on me. And if you hold it, just make sure you're holding away from the blade itself. So hold it down here while you carve. Okay? And so when you carve, you want to think press down a little bit and then push away from you. So down. And then you'll notice it gets a little bit of the linoleum inside of it, and you're carving it away. And please remember, if you need to, you can turn your linoleum and carve in a different direction. Please don't ever carve towards yourself. That is also a problem. You always want to be carving away from you. Safety first. And again, as I carve, I'm only carving the areas that do not have black on them. So the open areas, that is where I'm carving. I need to take that away so it doesn't receive the ink that we're going to put on top of it. And when you carve, just make sure you're not carving in too deep, because you don't want to go straight through the linoleum, but you want to carve deep enough. Alright, so I'm going to keep carving here, and I will show you once I'm further along where I'm at. So we are going to prepare to print. So I've carved my linoleum plate here, and I'm going to run a proof to see if I need to make any edits before I officially begin my printing process. So I'm just going to use my bench hook here and to put my ink on. So I don't need a ton, but you do want enough, and you're going to roll it with your brayer. And you want to make sure you can start hearing like the crackle sound of the ink. That's when you know it's nice and sticky and good, and you're going to roll the ink onto your plate. Now I do think I need a little more ink here. Now as I'm rolling the ink, I can tell certain spots it's not picking up, so I'm kind of giving those spots just a little more love with the side of my brayer to make sure it gets on there. I am going to lay a sheet of paper on top of it. What I would do is I would definitely write your name on the back of the paper before you print. Lay it right on your plate. And you can either just rub with your hand, or you can take a clean brayer and press down with that. Once you feel it has been pressed enough, take one corner and peel it up and take a look at your print. So here is my proof. Now if there's things I feel I need to work on, maybe if I need to carve some more or just clean anything up, now is the time I should do that. So what I could do is I could take a wet paper towel, wipe off my plate, and I'm going to keep my proof in front of me, and if I need to tidy up some of these marks, I can do that. So here are two prints that I did out of this printing plate here. This one I did the rubbing method with the brayer, the clean brayer, or your hand. And this one I put through the printing press. So you can see the difference here. This one provided more pressure, which is why I'm getting the heavier ink, the heavier black. This one wasn't as much pressure, so I'm getting all these little white splotches everywhere. Now, I like imperfections in prints, so the little white splotches don't bother me. However, I do understand that this one is a little more clear because it went through the press. Now, all these little marks here, these chatter marks, those are personal preference too. Those are just some of the areas of my carving that are still a little too raised up and they're receiving some of the ink. I love the look of that. But again, that is a personal preference. So I just wanted to show you how a printing press can just make your images appear a little more full than just rubbing by hand or using a brayer. However, they both are very interesting. So I definitely want you playing around with both techniques of how to print when you create your print series. And here's the third print that I printed. This one I also printed in the press. Now this one appeared, I think, a little stronger than this one. This one almost had like too much ink on it, I think, where this one's a little more balanced. So I definitely think I'm preferring the press for my images. However, I think they all look very, very cool. All right, so now you kind of know the difference between different pressing styles and your preference and how you want your series to look.